Okay. Hey, Chuck. Nice to meet you virtually here.
Very nice meeting you.
Hey, I'm assuming you probably got a look at Lipscomb last night versus Duquesne. Um,
Absolutely.
and I don't know if I'm saying his name right. The big guy, Agna Civic, had 30. I was just wondering, well, what's your take on him specifically and their team overall?
He's a heck of a player. He causes a lot of problems because of his ability to shoot the three. He can make threes in transition off pick and pops, but he's also a guy that shoots 60% from the field in the low post. So, he can shoot it from the outside. He can shoot it from the low post. Not surprised that he had the night that he had because he's a heck of a player.
And just how about their team overall? I know, listen to Cal's radio show. He compared them a lot to Princeton with, their ball movement, backdoor cuts, and things like that.
Well, Coach Acuff has done an unbelievable job at Lipscomb, and he's we have tremendous amount of respect for him and his program, and I think that's the consensus around the country. When you play Lipscomb, you're going to play an efficient team, a team that's not going to beat itself. Unbelievable on offense, their ball movement, their player movement, their execution, their counters. They do an unbelievable job of reading the defense and then countering it. And Coach Cal is correct. A lot like the old Princeton offense. They're as good as anybody in the country in terms of running their offense.
Okay, I might have a couple more. I'll turn it back to Mike. Thanks.
Sure.
Hutch.
Hey, Coach, I'm wondering if you maybe have an update on Jonas and, if we might potentially see him tomorrow.
He's getting better. He's getting better. We're taking it day by day. We'll have a better feel, hopefully by tomorrow morning. But he's certainly getting better. We're excited about the possibility of him returning soon.
And Coach Cal said, I think even before the TCU exhibition, that he felt like y'all's team maybe got a little bit arrogant after beating Kansas and everything. I'm curious, maybe how have you seen them respond since the TCU exhibition? Do you feel like they've maybe come back down from that?
Yeah, I think every game is a learned experience. Obviously, we got a chance to see what we could be after the Kansas game, but also we learned that if you're not focused, you're not locked in. In college basketball, anybody can beat anyone, and I thought it was a really good lesson for our guys, for our team.
Anthony.
Hey, Chuck. Hope you're doing well. Just kind of keeping in line with the TCU game. I noticed. Obviously, you guys have said, or Cal has said that he feels like he has a good shooting team, but in the two exhibitions, shot under 30% from three. What are you guys kind of doing to maybe improve in that area, and how are you feeling kind of going into the ceiling or into the season uh, from the perimeter?
Sure. I think some of it is, Nelly Davis had been out for quite some time prior to the Kansas game. So that was the first time that he really had any live competition. And then the TCU game was just his second game back. So he's a guy on our team that's very capable of making shots. And he had been out for 3 weeks. So it's going to take him some time to get his rhythm and find his rhythm. And again, for the young guys, whether it's Billy or Carter or Boogie, this is their first time, playing a live competition in front of a crowd. So it's going to take some time, but I certainly think that we're capable of making threes, and I think that we will as the season goes on.
Then
Jackson.
just
I'm
kind of
sorry.
talking about
Go ahead, Anthony.
talking about your front court depth, obviously with Jonas out. How do you kind of feel? Savannah and Trevin and even Adu to a certain degree have kind of stepped into that, maybe kind of grown into the system that you guys are trying to put together here.
Oh, I think it's great for those guys. They've been able to get a lot of reps at that position on both sides of the ball in practice, and then obviously in both exhibition games. So I think for us it's a plus. It allows someone like Z and TB to get a lot of reps, and then hopefully we can get Jonas back and we can get a pretty good rotation with those three that give us some talent, some experience, some length, and kind of do it by committee.
Okay, Jackson.
Hey Chuck, the free throws really went down against TCU, and I'm just curious how much was that your own, offense maybe, and as well as maybe a more physical game. Just what went into that, and how have you been working on it?
You mean the percentage or attempts?
Attempts.
Yeah, I think the TCU game was a really physical game on both sides. So some of the calls that we may have gotten in the Kansas game, we did not get in the TCU game. But it's going to be like that sometimes. It's big boy basketball. We're on the road, and some nights you'll get a favorable whistle, and some nights you won't. You just got to play through it. And I think the physicality of TCU played into it a little bit. But again, it was a great learning experience for our guys to understand that this is what it looks like and this is what it feels like on the road at a Power Five program.
I know Cal and the staff have had plenty of season openers, but at a new place, can you sense any added buzz on either through Cal or the rest of the coaching staff with the season getting underway finally?
Yeah, we're excited. We're all excited to be here. Obviously, we got a chance to see what it would feel like to coach at Bud Walton last week or 2 weeks ago against Kansas. So without a doubt, we've worked really hard. Our staff, our kids, our program all summer and all fall, and we're excited about tomorrow night.
And finally, how much has Boogie Flans maybe his ability to be the point guard, the ball handler, surprised maybe the coaching staff or maybe even just exceeded expectations maybe a little bit?
Well, I think when we recruited him, we all knew that he had the ability to do it, and he's certainly a talented young man. We've seen him, we've evaluated him, so we had an idea of what we were getting. But when you see him live and you see him perform the way he did in the Kansas game, it's good to see. It's good to see. Sometimes when the lights come on, these guys are young, and sometimes they don't respond the way you thought they would. But he's been pretty good, so we're excited about Boogie.
Okay, Bob?
Yeah, Chuck. I know. I think when you guys played KU, Aduthiero, he was just coming back. Didn't do a lot offensively. I know defense is kind of his calling card, but then he had a big game against TCU. Where do you think he's at with his game right now?
He's, as you mentioned, he just got back in the swing of things, so to speak. So he didn't do much in the Kansas game in terms of offense, but he was at the right places defensively in the Kansas game. I think the TCU game, he started to find a rhythm offensively, made some threes, some perimeter shots, got to the rim, made some really good reads, driving kicks. So his development has been unbelievable from a year ago to today, and we're really excited to see where he can go, what the next step is for him.
I know people probably think, or they always think offense first, usually fans, media. I know coaches don't necessarily think that way, but Boogie really played great defense against KU, and I think he, pretty good against TCU as well. Well, what have you thought about his defense for a young player, and what makes him so effective on that end?
Yeah, offensively, we all were capable. We understood what he was capable of as we were recruiting him. I think defensively is probably the biggest challenge for a lot of young guys. So me personally, I was really surprised, pleasantly surprised, how he's been defending. He's tougher than people give him credit for. He's stronger than people give him credit for. He's got a feel for when to anticipate certain actions on the defensive side of the ball, which allows him to, from time to time, shoot the gaps and get a deflection or get a steal. So he's been really good defensively. We're pleasantly surprised and excited about that.
Okay, hey, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Hutch?
Yeah, Coach, I noticed in both of the exhibition games, y'all did a pretty good job in the first half of taking care of the ball, and then maybe had a few more in the second half. I'm curious, could you put your finger on what happened there, and then maybe how has it been addressed in practice?
Yeah, I think the Kansas game, both games were so different, but I think the Kansas game towards the end of the game, maybe some immaturity on our young guys. We were up by 20, if I'm not mistaken, and just kind of lost focus for a few minutes, which obviously we can't do against anyone, let alone against Kansas. I think against TCU, the physicality played a role in it. That was the first competition that our freshmen faced with that much intensity, and it's hard to explain it to them. It's hard to to teach through film. They've got to experience it. They got to feel it. They got to hear it. So they have a better feel for, hey, this is what we mean when we tell you to cut harder, go meet balls. You got to be a little bit more physical at the end of the game when we play teams like TCU.
Bob, you got another? Oh, sorry, Connor. Go ahead, Connor.
Hey, Coach, I was just going to ask kind of about John L. Davis. You know, he's looks like he's still kind of knocking off a little bit of the rust, trying to get back in the flow of things. Just what have you seen from him, and kind of what do you expect to see from him tomorrow night?
You know, exactly what you just said. You know, he's trying to get back in a rhythm. He's trying to find a rhythm with our guys. He's been out for a few weeks prior to the Kansas exhibition game. But, you know, he's such a veteran. Although at times offensively he's not making shots, he's exactly where he should be, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. He did so many good things in the Kansas game, and he did some really good things in the TCU game that go unnoticed. But as the year goes on, I think our fan base will appreciate all the things that he does.
And then just going into the Lipscomb game, have y'all gotten a chance to watch them last night at all? Their game against Duquesne, and then
Yeah.
just what are your expectations for the team in the season opener?
Well, as we mentioned earlier today, we got an enormous amount of respect for Lipscomb and Coach Acuff. He's done an unbelievable job there. He's built one of the better offensive teams around the country, and I'm not exaggerating. You know, they're so efficient. They're so well versed on their offense. They can counter you when you give them different looks. So it's going to be a challenge. We've got to play well. We got to play hard. We got to play smart. But we're looking forward to the challenge tomorrow night at Bud Walton.
Okay, Coach. I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.